Rugby League this week, then, and we'll start at Odsal, where Bradford have confirmed the signing of Leon Price from Hull FC. Price came through the youth ranks at Bradford before he progressed into the first team, winning 2 World Club Challenges, 3 Super League titles and 2 Challenge Cups with his boyhood club. After his time at the Bulls, Price joined St Helens, where he added another World Club Challenge, a Super League title plus another 3 Challenge Cup winners' medals to his collection. He then joined the Catalan Dragons for 3 seasons before moving to Hull FC. I'm excited to come home and come back to my hometown team, Price said. It's been a long time since I left Bradford. 2005 was my last season. I've always wanted to come back home for my last season. So there we go. Tim G Radio got in touch on this one. He says it's nice that Leon Price will finally fulfil his ambition and get to play at Blackpool at next year's Summer Bash. Yeah, he definitely prefers Blackpool to Bondi.
What do you make of this? I mean, it's, it shows it's a relatively slow news week that this is the lead story. But you, as the Bradford Bulls fan, Tom, what do you make of this?
Yeah, I think it's positive. I think it's been one of the worst kept secrets in Rugby League for quite some time, and he's coming in with a coaching remit as well. So, because the Bulls are next year going to be a much less experienced outfit, there's a lot of lads coming up from the 19s. Some of the other signings that we're making are lads with less experience, people like the boys coming up from London and stuff. It's going to be useful to have somebody with Price's wealth of experience in and around the club. So I welcome it.
He's not the only new signing, is he?
He's not the only new signing, no. We also confirmed this week that we have signed back rower Jason Walton from Wakefield Trinity for the 2017 season. The versatile forward can operate in the centres, has inked a 2-year deal with the Bulls, and also today we announced the signing of prop forward Ross Peltier from Keighley Cougars, also on a 2-year deal. So, like I say, some inexperienced or some less experienced guys there, having Leon Price around the place will improve or augment what's going on.
Jason Walton, right? How much do you reckon he's paid removal firms in the last 5 years? He can't settle, can he, the lad?
Well, he probably just lives in one place and just every club he's played for has been within
London.
Oh, has he been at London?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I don't know then. I didn't realise he'd been at London. I thought he'd been at
Salford,
Wakefield, Batley, and
who was he at before Who was he at before when he went to London?
I didn't even know he'd been at London, mate. I just thought he was Northern. Salford, was it Huddersfield? Batley. He played up Batley again for Batley.
He did, yeah.
So, and then he went to Wakey.
Salford, then went to Batley, went back to Salford, I think then went to London, then went to Wakefield.
Right.
Or maybe went on loan.
Well, it's the London thing is what confuses me then in that
right,
case. But
okay.
in otherwise, I would suggest he could probably have just stayed at home and driven to all his other clubs, really. But no, good luck. It's a good, strong signing for where we are in the division. Forward Frankie Mariano will leave Castleford at the end of this season. Mariano has been with the club since 2014 after joining from neighbours Wakefield Trinity Wildcats. Mariano said, "I'd just like to say a big thank you to everybody at Castleford Tigers. I'd like to thank the coaching staff for developing me as a player, the physio team for looking after me during my injuries, the boys for being there on and off the field, and the board of directors and staff behind the scenes at Castleford Tigers. It really is a close-knit club. A massive thank you also goes out to the Tigers fans. Their support has been amazing and is something I will treasure." Good solid pro, Frankie Mariano.
Yeah.
Shame to see him.
I think he's
growing.
Probably been his best spell at Castleford, but it's been marred a little bit by it. In terms of performances, when he has been fit, the problem is he hasn't been fit enough.
He's been on the treatment table quite a bit, hasn't he? Yeah.
Whoever signs him will be good. There's talk about him being in the Scotland squad for the Four Nations and stuff that I've been reading.
Yeah.
So, there's whoever gets him will be getting a decent player there. Where do you think he'd land? Do you think it'd be
I don't know.
Do you think it'll be whatever club goes down from the Super League?
It's
a sensible landing spot for a player.
It depends what he's. I'd have him for his performances, but again, you've got, from a Bradford point of view, we're not trying to spend money on people who are going to spend a lot of time on the treatment.
No, I mean the teams that going down, the team that goes down from Super League, not you.
Possibly so. Or he might go part time and he might have business interests outside of Rugby League that he can then focus on and play part time.
I think he's good enough to get a full time contract.
No, I'm certain he is good enough, but sometimes you know as well as I do that some of the part time lads are doing it predominantly because they can make more money running a business, doing the fitness training or whatever, or just having any kind of business outside Rugby League and playing part-time. So it remains to be seen. But no, he's a cracking player and he'll definitely get a gig somewhere, I would suggest, lower-end Super League, top-end Championship. Moving on then, the nominations for the 2016 Kingston Press Championship and League One awards have been confirmed this week. The nominations for Championship Player of the Year are Mickey Hyam from the Lee Centurions, Don Brambani from the Batley Bulldogs and Missy Talapapa of Featherstone Rovers. The Championship Young Player of the Year nominations went to Jordan Baldwinson of Fev Rovers, James Cunningham at London and Josh Guzdeck at the Dewsbury Rams, who used to play for Hull KR, of course. Championship Coach of the Year nominations went to Neil Dukes at Lee, John Keir from Batley and Andrew Henderson at London. The League One...
Shall we talk about the
go ahead.
Championship noms before we go on to the League One ones? What do you make of them? Where do you think the awards are going to go? I think the thing that jumps out is two of the blokes that we were just talking about, the part-time, full-time relationship, two of the blokes that didn't want to go or weren't able to commit to the full-time with Sheffield have ended up on this list in Don Brambani and Missy Talapapa.
Yeah, and they both have fantastic seasons and have legitimised their decisions in my eyes.
It's good to see a couple of blokes who aren't former Super League players in that list as well, but I'm almost certain the former Super League player is the one that's going to walk away with the gong.
Oh, I'd bet the farm on it being Mickey Hyam, and that's not to say it's just because he's the former Super League player. The influence that he's had at Lee in terms of bringing his wealth of experience, playing for his hometown club, and his performances on the pitch for a man of his age have been exceptional, and he's an ex-Bradford Bull, so good luck to him, no matter how briefly he was an ex-Bradford Bull for. Remind me how that worked, because there was Mickey Hyam, there was Terry Newman, and was not a third involved.
No.
We just picked
there
up
was 3 clubs.
That's right, because you weren't going to do a deal with Saints, were you? That's right.
Well, Saints weren't going to do a deal with us, was more to the point.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's why everyone just kind of went. I couldn't remember if there was a third hooker involved, and they all just went like that. But okay, there we go.
No, Saints didn't need another hooker. They had the production line coming on, didn't they?
Oh, of course, yeah. They were full at hooker.
They even had Scott Morris, a youngster, before he went off the track.
Scotty Moore, yeah. Hey, right. More interesting a conversation, I think, is about Championship Coach of the Year, because it would be dead easy to say Neil Dukes. But
no, I wouldn't give it to Neil Dukes.
I wouldn't give it to Neil Dukes. I'd go Andrew Henderson.
See, I'd go John Keir.
Right.
I think he's. I know the Batley story has kind of subsided a little bit because once they came out of the cup and once they kind of, then the Lee story took over in terms of, and also the Bradford story in terms of what you were doing wrong kind of took over too. Yeah. And I think what John Keir has done with that Batley squad this year has been very, very inspirational, really, for teams of that level. And so I'd go with him, but you make your case for Hendo.
Well, no, I feel like Henderson's come in and really helped steady the ship at London. They've had a high turnover of playing staff. A lot of guys coming and going out. What they've got in guys like bringing in Jamie Langley, they've got someone who's organising their youth system and their youngsters, which is something that's really important down in London, and that's something that Hendo was key in implementing. And then the brand of rugby league that he's got them playing with some good young local talent. Admittedly, the problem with London, or the problem that London have, is that whenever they start to foster any good young talent, immediately there is a bit of a drain and a bit of suction north, because clubs will look at what's coming out of London, because it's such a potentially wealthy pool of talent. But Henderson has been instrumental in getting these players to a point where they're looking at moving north and looking at playing for bigger teams. So, and to go from kind of where they were sort of...
Or Bradford as well.
Well, yeah, exactly. Like I said, bigger teams. You're an absolute penis sometimes. So, no, I'm... Plus,
let me have fun whilst I can have fun. I've got to talk about our game.
Plus, give it 2 or 3 weeks, and if things go well, and London, play well, they could be in the £1 million game and having a good crack at... In a one-off game, have a crack at getting promoted to Super League, and if they go up, then there wouldn't be a doubt in my mind that it's Andrew Henderson, Coach of the Year. Take nothing away from Neil Dukes. He's come in at a time when there was a bit of instability around and what have you, but
the resources there way outstrip what you've got in other places.
Exactly.
But certainly, I think, and that for me is any coach who's got their team to that level of finishing third in the table ahead of full-time squads, to me, deserves Coach of the Year in that division. Part-time teams, in getting into the is where you need to be looking at your coach of the year. Yeah.
Okay. Into League One then. And the nominations were Mark Kirala of Toulouse Olympique, Jonathan Ford of Toulouse Olympique, and Kuni Minga of Toulouse Olympique. Now, I have a tremendous amount of knowledge of these three gentlemen, but I'm going to throw my weight behind the Minga. Not for the first time in my life. I shouldn't wonder, but yeah, let's go with Kuni Minga because that's a cool name.
Well,
you must know more about these chaps.
Well, obviously we don't see a lot of this division. We're going to see more of League One next year,
which is brilliant.
Toronto's games, but obviously Toulouse almost certainly won't be featuring in those.
Yeah.
But Mark Corella, I think he's going to get it. Every time I read a match report about Toulouse, I mean, he is the goal kicker, but he's also the main strike weapon as well from fullback. Every time I see a piece about them, it's him. Every time they want to interview someone, he's the one put forward. He's the star man, essentially. So I think it will be him.
Well, there you go. Young Player of the Year nominations in League One include Clement Boyer of Toulouse Olympique, Vincent Rennie of Newcastle Thunder, and Danny Yates from the Rochdale Hornets.
I apologise for all three, but I don't know a great deal about any of them, but well done to them all.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a high honour indeed. And League One Coach of the Year, Sylvain Houle from Toulouse Olympique, Paul Crary from Barrow Raiders, and Alan Kilshaw of the Rochdale Hornets. Now, if Barrow go up, you've got to say that's great work.
Well, this is the top three, and they're going to be the top three going into the playoff series. Barrow and Rochdale have a sort of important run-in to come.
Yeah.
But
I'd be astounded if Toulouse don't go up, to be honest. But again, is the same true for Sylvain Houle as it is for Neil Dukes in terms of what he's got at his disposal?
It's very similar, but it's a little bit different because Dukes was part of that machine that has been winning for 3 years.
Yeah.
Or 2 years and a bit then before, whatever. Whereas Houle's have had to bring his team into a whole new competition.
Yeah.
Into a different season because the timings of the seasons aren't exactly the same.
Yeah.
And all that travelling as well. I think there's a lot more, and I know he gets the benefit of clubs travelling to them and what have you. And they knocked off. He's the one coach this year who has beaten Neil Dukes.
Yeah, true.
Well, and apart from London beat Leeds early on. Was it London who beat Batley beat Leeds? Sorry, So, but basically, not many people, Super League coaches have come up against Neil Dukes' League Centurions and not beat them, but this Toulouse Olympique side did.
Yeah.
So I think that gives him a bit more credit. Although I think what Barrow's done is exceptional.
They've really come up on the rails in the last sort of third of the season as well. I remember sort of almost over to past the midway point of the year, we'd been talking about Keithley, we'd been talking about York, and then we'd kind of been talking about Rochdale. We've not really mentioned Barrow.
Well, Barrow were winning without winning spectacularly, and then they started to pick up wins against the other stronger sides, and that's when you needed to start when York had their issues, Barrow sort of had a really good month around that time, but because the York story was the big story,
it went unnoticed.
You kind of lost track of how well actually Barrow had started to perform.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, congratulations to everybody who's nominated because it's a phenomenal achievement and testament to a good year. Wyndham Manley have confirmed the signing of St Helens standoff Travis Burns for the year 2017. Burns is joining the Queensland Cup side on a 1-year deal.
How many games will he get banned for in that year? Over under. I go over under. Right, I'll give you the figure.
All right.
So I say he's going to miss 5 games through suspension next season. Are you over or under 5 games?
You could probably play about 23 rounds. I'm going to go over. I go 6 to 8. I reckon. He's not. It's Travis Burns. He's missed.
How many sin binnings? Again, over under 5.
You're gonna have to get banned for a fair bit, isn't he? Over 5? No. Sin binnings or sending offs?
Well, it's not automatic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Fighting in Australia.
All right. He's gonna throw a punch, isn't he? He's gonna be daft enough to get lured into throwing a punch. I'm going to go over again. I think you're underestimating Travis Burns' desire to sit some out. Staying down under then, the Mount Hagen Eagles, the club whose coach triggered that horrendous post-match violence in Papua New Guinea last week, have been suspended from the Digicel Cup for 3 years.